Hello and welcome back.
Episode 4.
Five?
No, it's 5. Episode 5
of the Mama Memoirs podcast. I'm your host, Becks.
And I'm your host, Kat. Thank you so much for joining us again. Today is a super special,
Exciting
episode. We're going to be talking about hypnobirthing.
Yes, and this is our resident hypnobirthing specialist and midwife, Joanna.
And your hypnobirthing teacher.
Exactly.
Yes. Hello, thanks for having me on.
You're very, very welcome.
Very
So today we'll get through just a bit about you, Joanna, talk about your background, all things hypnobirthing. We've mentioned before that I think there's some misconceptions about hypnobirthing. Certainly when I heard about it the first time, I thought, is it just sit round in a circle holding each other's hands and going
on?
So there's a lot of misconceptions.
I actually thought that as well. It was one of my friends from uni that had mentioned it. I'd said that I was really anxious about giving birth, like to the point that I was genuinely feeling quite scared.
Yeah.
And she'd mentioned about hypnobirthing. And I thought, oh, okay, interesting. No idea, but genuinely thought it was a little bit of hypnosis going on.
Yeah. Brilliant. Let's get right into it.
Perfect.
So first and foremost, tell us about you. What do you do?
Well, I work as a midwife and I also have this hypnobirthing business, which I started about 4 or 5 years ago.
Amazing.
And so half my time's taken up with the midwifery world and then the other half is mainly family. I've got 3 children. Twins who are 8, twin girls, and then a little boy who's 5.
Oh, as if you weren't busy enough.
I know.
Twins.
To start an extra business.
Yeah, exactly. To be extra business.
Do you find the combination of being a midwife and also the hypnobirthing? Because there's definitely hypnobirthing people or course people, when all the one is, but that do hypnobirthing, but they're actually not midwives.
Yeah.
So do you find that sort of complements each other quite well?
Yeah, definitely, because I'm a midwife, I understand what's happening within hospitals, within the health system, and I've also used it myself, which helps me doing the hypnobirthing, but also I think as a midwife. Having that hypnobirthing background, being able to put people at ease and point people towards looking at hypnobirthing, whether it be courses or books or podcasts. Anything to get a little bit more hypnobirthing influence.
Yeah. When did you first find out about it? Because I'd only just heard about it literally in the last few months before we gave birth.
Yeah, because it was August time, wasn't it, when we did the course? So I think...
Before that, I had no knowledge. It was just a random Google search, I think, and it came up, and then I happened to find you, and you were already my midwife. But how did you find out about it? What made you start?
It was probably around 12 years ago.
Okay.
And I was looking after a couple in labour, or 2 couples actually, in the early days, and they were using hypnobirthing techniques, and they just seemed to be very different to other couples. They were both very calm, both the woman and her partner. And they also seemed very well informed.
Okay,
they knew what they wanted.
Yeah.
And so that was my first experience with hypnobirthing. Then I trained in it, actually by accident, as a teacher.
Yeah.
Had they, sorry, just to go back, did the couples that you were working with, were you their midwife? And had they done the course sort of separately? Or?
Yeah, they'd done the course separately. And then I was looking after them when they were in labour.
Nice.
Ah, okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is a stark contrast to my usual hysterical people.
Well, no, don't be like that.
Yeah.
Most women aren't necessarily hysterical.
Yeah.
But they just seemed really serene, very, very calm, and it just struck me. That there was quite a difference.
Yeah. So what are you doing? What's your method? Yeah.
Why are you so chilled? You're about to push a human out of your body.
And you trained by accident? What happened?
Yeah, well, I knew it was a course on hypnobirthing, but I thought it was a course which was designed for midwives to help them look after women who were hypnobirthing, and to give a few little tips on, how to support women having a physiological labour and birth. Yeah. But when we got there, we realised it was actually full-on teacher training to enable us to become hypnobirthing teachers. It wasn't very well advertised, let's put it that way.
And what was your first thought? So our first thoughts about hypnobirthing was obviously it's potentially a bit of hypnosis. What was your first thought about what it might be?
I initially thought it was just relaxation techniques. So some breathing techniques, some massage techniques, and Yeah. So I didn't realise it even had the hypnosis part initially, despite it being called hypnobirthing. But it does. So it has techniques of self-hypnosis that you learn, so that you're able to try and get rid of any fears you have around the birth. So you do that by listening to these relaxation scripts.
Nice.
And they get you really kind of super relaxed, super chilled, so that you go into a type of meditative state.
Yeah.
So you're kind of becoming semi-hypnotised.
Yeah. By yourself.
By
And
yourself.
by the scripts that
by
you
what
Or
read.
by your
listening to.
partner as well,
Yeah.
because I think you had Jai readings.
Jai
and stuff,
recorded the relaxation scripts and I was listening to them, for the first 5 hours of labour at least,
So if you listen to those scripts, then you get super, super relaxed.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of the scripts, when you're in that type of meditative state, there'll be positive messages about birth and about labour and about having a baby. And the idea is that over time, those messages, when you're in that state, will drip feed down into your subconscious level where a lot of your anxieties are.
Yeah.
And so over time you can try and get rid of those anxieties and feel more confident.
Yeah.
I
going into labour.
I definitely found that really worked for me, because I was, I don't know, just really, really anxious. And then when we started doing all of the reading of the texts, looking at the positive birth affirmations, I really then felt, and I suppose it's because you learn a lot about the physiology of your body. Is that the right word?
Yeah. What your body's doing during pregnancy.
So it's the affirmation side, but it's also
science.
the science and informative side, isn't it? Can you explain a little bit about that and how hypnobirthing helps inform you?
Yeah, so like with any antenatal course, they should be teaching you about what your body's doing in labour.
Yeah.
And once you understand what the body's doing, then you know how to support it. So when you're going into labour, you have oxytocin, which gives you the contractions, or surges as they often call them in hypnobirthing circles.
I preferred that, surges.
Surges rather than contractions.
A bit gentle. More gentle word. It doesn't make you think of anything too harsh.
Contraction sounds quite vicious, doesn't it?
Mechanical.
Surges gives me like waves, like by the sea, just chilling.
Nice and gentle. So you need lots of oxytocin to have good, strong, powerful surges. And to have lots of oxytocin, you need to feel very relaxed. You don't want to be feeling anxious, which is why being mentally prepared helps with the relaxation scripts. And you also want to feel very safe. And you don't want to be stimulated in a way that's going to turn on your brain. So during the course we talk a lot about how to have a very nice relaxed environment and ways to make you feel comfortable and safe.
Yeah, that really helped us because we started we put the candles out, we had music that I found relaxing, and it was about creating that safe womb-like environment in our house. So we had the curtains all closed, and it felt warm. Jai put the fire on, and it felt nice and cosy, and that definitely makes you feel better. If you're in that, then you talk about this quite a lot in hypnobirthing. If you're in a cold hospital environment, you can still do hypnobirthing in a hospital environment, but there are things that you might need to think about to help make that hospital environment a little bit more cosy for you. So taking along some electrical tea lights if you can, battery operated ones, and
music is a big one. I guess it kind of comes back to what makes you feel cosy and womb like. I quite like that saying.
So we've got the affirmations piece, the piece about your environment. There's also a bit that I found really beneficial about hypnobirthing is the piece around being informed to ask questions and the bringing in of the partner. I think a lot of NCT classes talk directly to the mum and forget to talk to the dad. Hypnobirthing's quite different in that space, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, so the dad or partner, they're seen as being your protector in a way, and they're there to look out for you, to advocate for you, to help you remain calm. Because when you're in labour, you don't want to be dealing with all of these conversations and having to advocate for yourself. You want someone to be looking out for you, and that helps you feel more calm, more relaxed, safer.
Yeah,
that was really an important one. I found that Ross really took on that whole piece of my advocate, in the sense that we discussed what I did and didn't want, we discussed how I wanted to deal with the midwives, with the doctors, all these sort of conversations that I knew that I probably wouldn't want to be having. And I just think it made such a massive difference because it really kind of transpired to us that it's all about being a team.
Yeah.
So Ross was my other half. I was doing having the baby, and he was doing everything else, having that conversation,
the thinking and the questions.
Yeah, and like asking the right questions, because I think there's so much pressure on the mum to ask the right questions. But if you're in the throes of labour, I mean, half of it I don't remember because you're just in your own little bubble. So it's actually a really important part of the course where the partner, I think some of the partners were maybe dragged along, but actually by the end they thought, actually I've got a really important role here. I'm my advocate for my partner. And when they can't sort of communicate what they need, or if they're in their bubble, they're in their zone, that's where my role comes in. And it's really interesting because I definitely had conversations with other people who hadn't done hypnobirthing, and it was a guy, and he was basically like, I just sat in the corner until the baby was here.
And you see that a lot.
And I think the guys
really,
they really benefit from that because they feel useful. They feel like they can help. I think half the time they're thinking,
they feel like a lemon
what
in the corner.
Can I do? I want to help, but I don't know what to do. And for us, that was just such a massive part of the whole experience that Ross could advocate for me, and he could help.
I loved the hypnobirthing classes, and we did both hypnobirthing classes and we did the traditional NCT style class. And my God, the hypnobirthing was incredible. The other class was quite poor. We went into the NCT class, to be fair to them, after we'd done hypnobirthing, so we already knew everything. But we also just thought that the way in which it was taught was just not the same. In hypnobirthing,
did you find it was a different focus?
It was a different focus. It was more on, you're probably going to have a C-section, and these are all of the things that can go wrong, and after that then you have to breastfeed your baby, and this is why boob is best. That's pretty much my summary of NCT.
I find that really sad though, because you're basically preparing people to have a difficult time of it, and then that's going to increase your anxiety level and make the experience just much more difficult from start to end. So you can't guarantee having the perfect textbook birth,
but what you can guarantee is how you deal with it. I definitely thought that all of the sort of mental preparation that we did really stood me in good stead for how, like, I did not have the birth that I in my head had planned for, wanted for, but actually I was able to use the techniques even in a hospital setting, having cesarean, like all of those things that I didn't want to do, I was still able to use techniques, and it really did help calm my anxiety.
And also when you're questioning everything, you're in control, you're making sure that what's happening is right for you, then you can feel much more happy with, even if it doesn't go to plan, then it's still the right decisions that were made, and everything worked out for the best.
So I suppose when you're asking the right questions and you feel empowered to do that, or your partner feels empowered to do that for you, then you know that you're making the right decision for you because you're getting the information that you need.
So there was a big part of hypnobirthing, that feeling empowered. I think Giles walked away with so much knowledge. He had no knowledge about oxytocin. I'd kind of done a bit of reading, but he had no knowledge about that. He had no knowledge that just because the surgeons and the doctors and midwives tell you that you should, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to. And you can ask questions, you can ask for 10 minutes to just take a break, have a think for yourselves, as long as your baby's not in a really emergency situation. But you feel so much more empowered to know, okay, when they're talking about oxytocin, that's what this means. When they're talking about heart rates and things, and it gives you that power gives you power gives you power to just feel like you're in control, like you said. You're not just going in there blind and having somebody take you through a birth. I think that's a massive
and
benefit.
also I think it empowered us to be able to say no. I don't think we actually we did say no. They were kind of booking us to be induced, and I was no, I don't want to. So that was a massive part, that you feel a lot of the time you're told what's going to happen to you, and actually you are empowered to be saying, actually, no, I don't want to, or it's my body, it's my baby, you know, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, and that's the way it always should be, because it's
Yeah,
your
definitely.
decision. You should be making your own informed decisions. But it doesn't always appear to be the case when someone's telling you, okay, we need to do this now, we need to do that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, like, a lot of the time, these things don't need to be done.
No.
And what's right for one person isn't going to be right for another.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Comparing births is like comparing motherhood. What's right for one baby is not going to be right for another. What's right for one mum is not going to be right for another.
There's literally no two mums or two babies or two lives.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just impossible to slot people in like that.
Did you use hypnobirthing for your pregnancy, your birth?
Yeah, not for the first one,
Okay.
because I don't think I'd heard of it when I had the girls. But for Alex,
How did that go?
It was amazing, to be honest.
Was it?
Yeah. So I had Alex at home, and it was a planned home birth, and I did the course when I was pregnant with him, so that's probably why it had such a big impact on me. Unfortunately, my husband wasn't there in the course because he wasn't a midwife in the trust I was working at.
Damn.
But you could teach him when you got home.
But yeah, he had the lowdown.
Yeah.
And so I did a lot of the mental preparation, which I felt I really needed because I'd been working on a labour ward. And you see a lot of things when you're working on a labour ward, and I wanted to get rid of all the anxieties I built up. So when I did the course, I really went for it with the relaxation scripts and the preparation, and I felt I got to a certain point where I was happy not to be in the hospital. I wanted to be at home. I wanted to be where I would feel most comfortable, most at home.
Exactly.
So when I went into labour, I literally went into this little nest in the bedroom, and it was very dark, it was very quiet. I was listening to the relaxation scripts. I just wanted to be on my own.
What was your sort of setup when you
just by the bed
in your nest? What was
there wasn't much in there, to be honest.
Just curtains closed in bed.
Because I planned.
Did you have music on and things?
I had the relaxation scripts playing.
Oh, okay,
I'd actually planned to have Alex in the pool.
Oh yeah.
But it all just happened so quickly, and there were some issues with setting up the pool.
Okay. I remember you saying that.
Definitely. If anyone's planning a home birth,
do a test drive
with a pool, do a test run.
Don't use the pump the wrong way and pump the water out.
And make sure your hot water is on constant, so you don't run out.
One,
so I imagine it takes a lot more water than you think.
Oh, it's an enormous amount of water.
Yeah, the pool ends up weighing 800 kilograms.
Oh my god! And you don't want a cold bath at that point, do you?
No. So much of the labour I just spent on my own, cocooned in my own little bubble, no one talking to me, no one looking at me.
Amazing.
And then when things really heated up, my husband ran me a bath. Luckily before starting on the pool.
Yep, nice.
Well trained.
So I had the bath with candles around.
Oh, amazing.
And it was all just very calm.
Nice.
So
and delivered at home all safely. But did you deliver yourself?
Half.
Okay, wow.
Did you still have midwives come in?
The midwife came in, I don't know whether you want all this detail.
Yeah, do.
The midwife came in after Alex's head was already out,
but
the body was still in. So it was good timing.
You got the head out by yourself? That's amazing. So cool.
It was quite a crazy birth. I think it's the only birth I've ever seen, probably, maybe a couple where the woman hasn't pushed.
Yeah,
and I think it was Alex kicking off from the top.
Okay.
So I think he pretty much birthed himself.
That's amazing.
Clever boy.
He is very clever. It was lovely. I'm very glad I opted for that. Went for that option.
I think having done hypnobirths, but I'm probably still reeling from the birth a little bit, but I think in about a year's time I will probably want to do home birthing again and try it for the second one. Because I loved hypnobirthing so much, and because I'm like, it's surely all stretched down there now, it'll be fine. Surely the second one can't be quite as big of a head.
They do say the second one comes out easier, don't they?
Your labour's often about half the length. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that'll be like 3 hours for you.
Well, it's 15 hours, it'll be 7 hours, but I wouldn't mind. It's not the length of time. It was the size of the head. So if you could just have a smaller head Maybe you're just trying to induce early.
But they can do a scan to work out the size of their head, right?
Yeah, but it's really inaccurate.
It's very inaccurate, especially later on in pregnancy.
Yeah, really inaccurate. So if she's tucked in a certain way, and it just never.
And if the head's very engaged, it's quite hard to get the measurements.
So you just never know. For an anxious mum, as a hypnobirthing specialist, what would your words of advice be?
Do hypnobirthing.
Do it.
Number 1, do hypnobirthing. Number 2,
do it.
And it doesn't need to be paying for an expensive course. Obviously,
No.
if you pay for a course, you know, if it's a group one, you meet other people, and it's quite good to get answers to your questions that are specific to you as well. I would say anyway, it's worth the money paying for a course.
Yeah, I would agree.
But there are also cheaper online versions, and there are
I've seen
books
those.
you can buy.
Yeah, the KGH, is that her name?
Catherine Graves. Is
Catherine Graves. So I give the Catherine Graves course, but the cheaper online ones are, well, I know Positive Birth Company. That's the bigger one.
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend some sort of hypnobirthing, and just getting as informed as you can.
Yeah,
not listening to
Don't watch
difficult birth stories.
Yeah.
Don't watch Call the Midwife.
Yeah, or
I got really obsessed with that
one every
afterwards.
minute.
Yeah,
That's the one. Call the
Although
Midwife,
I had a
that's
birth like that in the end, so that was But don't
watch it.
Yeah, don't watch it.
Don't watch it before you've had
And
it.
don't, as you said, don't listen to other people's negative birth
Yeah.
stories, because we were talking about this quite a lot. People want to tell you their negative birth stories. We
Yeah.
can now because
Yeah.
we've been through it together and you're fine. But a lot of people go, oh, well,
Do you-
home birth, and try and
do you
scaremonger you.
There's a kind of what's the word? You know, where people have a really lovely birth, they kind of just enjoy it and then move on with their life, and they don't feel the need to sort of share it. Whereas if people have a traumatic birth, do you think there's more of they want to share that? So as a mum who hasn't had a baby, if you're looking for birth stories, you often get the negative ones rather than the positive ones.
Definitely, there are a lot more negative birth stories that you're likely to hear, and
Definitely.
I think it's kind of like therapy, isn't it, when you've had a difficult time to share with people, and you might feel that you're going to help warn them, and so they're not going to be surprised if anything happens. But the women that have positive birth stories, I think a lot don't feel that they should share them, because they might make someone feel bad if they don't have that same story, or they'll look like they're showing off.
That's
But actually,
really
you need to tell them more than anything.
So that you get some balance.
Exactly.
I really thought I was going to be one of those smug
So did I.
I just had a home
I was
birth,
so
and
confident.
the baby just fell out. It just stood up and she just popped out. That's what I was hoping for. Maybe a little bit naive.
Next time.
Yeah, next time.
That's always next time.
Do it next time.
So, how many babies? You might not actually know this, because being a midwife, I'm sure you've done many babies. But how many babies have you delivered, and what is the most amazing birth that you've witnessed?
Number of babies, I really don't know.
Is it in the thousands?
How many do you do per
thousands.
day?
Hundreds.
No, none per day.
None
'cause
per day.
I'm not based in a hospital.
Yeah.
So I normally attend home birth.
Yeah.
And unfortunately the numbers are not that high. I think almost everyone should have a home birth.
It's good.
Because it does improve the chance of having a straightforward birth as well, just by planning to have the baby at home.
Do you find
even if
most
you need to
people that
transfer?
have done the home births have done hypnobirthing?
No, but probably a higher proportion than average.
Yeah.
For sure. So I'm not sure about the numbers, but to qualify you have to have, I hate the word delivered, but been there. 40 babies be born.
Okay.
It will be hundreds.
Yeah, it must
but
be
I'm
hundreds.
not sure how
number.
many.
And what's the most amazing one that you've ever been a part of?
What's the one that sort of sticks out in your head as like that was a...
There are a few that stick out. Of the more recent ones, I'd say there was one that was born at home, and the baby came out in the bag, in the sack.
Oh, really?
So normally the waters go, so the sack breaks before the baby's born, either before labour or more often during labour.
Yeah.
Whereas, the sack hadn't broken at all, so the baby came out and she broke her own sack. So she stuck her hand up.
What, the baby did or the mum?
Yeah, the baby did.
Oh, really?
That's so sweet. I want to come out now. That's so
And then the mum was just loving watching her so much underwater, You know, I think both me and the husband at one point were like, is she going to bring the baby up out of the water? Because she was just watching, you know, this baby.
So the baby broke the sack and was just kind of like chilling out in the water.
And then in the water, and she was holding the baby, but still under the water, and just watching the baby, you know, looking around and moving and raising her arms up, and it was very sweet.
That's really beautiful. That's incredible.
That's really cute.
Yeah.
That's what I thought I was going to have.
Beautiful, serene experience. Any others that stand out as sort of being I think one that we spoke to you about was that a lady that you were helping deliver on a bed? Is that right? Do you remember telling that story? There was a lady that you were helping deliver at home on a bed.
Was this during the course?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, I remember this.
The Rebozo one.
Yes.
Oh, that's
that one
a really
might be a good one to
interesting
tell.
one.
Yeah.
And again, Rebozo is another technique that we both learn in hypnobirthing.
Yeah.
Which
Do you want
I
to
don't
explain
think
a
is
little
like
bit about what it is?
mainstream.
No.
I had no idea. So yeah, do you want to explain
it's
Rebozo?
becoming a little bit more known about.
Yeah.
It's basically the use of a scarf to help you feel more comfortable in labour. And you can also use it to encourage baby into a good position.
Yeah.
So there was a woman, and she was having a second baby, and she'd been in labour, I think, for longer with the second one than with her first.
Wow.
Which is very unusual.
Yeah, very unusual.
And it was basically because the baby was in a bit of an awkward position, back to back, and wasn't coming down into the birth canal.
Okay.
And so she was getting really fed up. And so we said, why don't we try the Rebozo? So she went up onto the bed in all fours position, and then I put the scarf under her belly and gently lifted it up and moved it from side to side. So it's basically like tilting the belly very, very gently, but that encouraged the baby to turn around.
So clever.
And the baby was born after about 5 minutes.
That's amazing.
That's incredible.
So once the baby had turned, that was
ready to go.
Ready to
Just
go.
needed a little bit
You
of
just
help.
wouldn't think of doing it, would you? But it's
No.
such a sort of simple action, just that lift and taking the weight off.
Yeah.
And doing that movement.
Twizzling it around.
Yeah, from side to side.
Oh, that's
Yeah, and it feels
amazing.
really comfortable as well, because it takes
Yeah.
all the weight off. And
I remember loving it. Like
Yeah.
I think towards the end, Ross would do the Rebozo almost every night because it just felt so good.
It's nice to have the weight lifting
Yeah, and
up,
just
isn't
like
it?
kind of rubbing your belly. It's like a little belly massage.
Yeah,
It's
so
great.
nice. Although I think Lils was in the right position from quite early on. She was quite well down and engaged and back this way. So, but even then, it did still feel nice. It feels comforting.
Yeah.
They were almost, I believe, from that story, they were almost going to take her into the hospital, weren't they? Because of
the midwife I was with said, I think like we've got to start thinking about transferring in. So I said, no, let's just try this technique first.
Yeah.
So good.
yeah.
And the
Amazing.
midwife that you were with, had she done the hypnobirth training?
No, she hadn't, and she didn't know about
Interesting.
Rebozo either.
Yeah.
So it was
So
quite
many
eye-opening.
techniques that you learn
It's
about
really
hypnobirthing.
simple
Really simple
techniques.
techniques. Just like that with household scarf, but it makes such a difference.
Yeah,
Things like
because
that,
otherwise
so
she
relaxing.
would have potentially been going into hospital when actually
Didn't need to.
she didn't need to.
Didn't need
Yeah.
you. Yeah, just
Yeah, these techniques, they're starting to get a bit more popular.
Yeah.
More midwives are training in them as well.
Brilliant.
So there's a course called biomechanics, and it's all about the mechanics of the pelvis and the baby, you know, and how they can interact and the position the baby gets into to be able to negotiate its way down, and techniques you can use to encourage it to happen.
Yeah. I loved actually on that biomechanics point the piece around how hypnobirthing teaches you about breathing. Can you talk us through some of the techniques that you're taught in hypnobirthing that are actually probably quite contrary to what you might see in One Born Every Minute, where it's hold your breath and bear down?
That's for the pushing part.
Yes, yeah. What are some of the breathing techniques that hypnobirthing teaches you?
Yeah, so the type that I teach, there are really only 2 breathing techniques.
Okay.
The first one is for the majority of labour, when the cervix is opening up, and that's called up breathing.
Yeah.
So you breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, just big long breath. It's the sort of breath you'd use to help you relax for an interview, before doing a podcast.
So did you do that breathing before you came in?
I should have done.
It's nice. I do find that quite relaxing though.
It is really relaxed. I actually still do it now. If I'm having a day where I'm feeling really stressed,
It helps me.
I will do 5 deep breaths and then crack on, and
you
I'll feel
forget
fine.
about it. I remember that the up breathing, Jai listened to, obviously, went to the course, but he was doing the up breathing next to my head for the first few hours before you got there, and it was helping me remember to breathe. And it sounds stupid, but you forget. And you're holding
you can mirror each other, can't you?
And yeah, exactly. He was doing it in my ear, and at some point I found it annoying, and I told him to go away. But for the first couple of hours, I enjoyed it, and I was going, oh yeah, breathing.
Oh yes, I'm supposed to breathe.
Yeah. Really useful.
So that's the up breathing, and that's for the early labour.
Yeah, or the majority of
the
labour.
majority.
Until your cervix is completely open and the baby's coming down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so for the time when the baby's coming down, you use the down breathing, because the baby's literally
and
coming
that's
down.
literally for where they're just about to come out.
Yeah, for the last, like, it could be last 30 minutes, last couple of hours, however long that stage of labour lasts. So for that, you breathe in through the nose, and then you're kind of breathing down through your body.
It's just like releasing.
Exactly, and you can imagine that air kind of passing down.
Yeah.
The idea behind it is you're supporting your body by keeping, oxygenated.
Yeah.
But also you've got that downward pressure to help that uterus to push down onto the baby.
It's like the mind-body connection.
Yeah.
Where you're breathing down and you're breathing your baby out is the saying.
You can practice it on the loo. So if you're going for number 2s, I was practicing it there.
Yeah. I definitely did that too.
Yeah, just breathing in and.
In fact, it's quite good if you're constipated.
Exactly. Yeah.
And after birth.
Exactly.
Yeah, after birth is a very useful technique.
Yeah, I enjoyed doing that. That was good. But during my labour, I was told to do the hold my breath thing and not to make any noise in the end because of how it was. But not by you, but by the other midwife in the room. But I think I would have actually benefited from just saying, no, it's okay, I'm going to do this breathing, but I didn't have the state of mind to do it at that stage. I think everything had gone out of the window and left my brain by that point. But it would have definitely, I think, helped, because I felt so lacking in energy, and actually a big part of that was probably because I was doing the really shallow breathing. It just wouldn't have helped my body to move things down.
That's the big difference, I think, with the hypnobirthing breathing. So it's less, you might feel the need to actively push.
Yeah.
And you just follow what your body's telling you to do.
Yeah.
But that breathing type is just to support your body.
Yeah. And that point around your body telling you what to do, I certainly felt, even in the ambulance, I was spoken to Jai about this, I think she was moving in the ambulance because I kept feeling this gush of water coming out constantly while we were in the ambulance, or every contraction, and the bed was completely soaked, my trousers were soaked. So I think she was maybe moving down at that point, but had I realised what was happening, maybe I would have done a bit more of the breathing and helped her along. But it felt as though my body was doing something. I could feel those kind of waves almost of my body just tensing and doing something. It sort of felt like that motion inside me. It's really hard to describe, but you can feel your body, it knows what to do. Your body naturally wants to get the baby out.
Because if you think about it, we're just mammals, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're just mammals that think a lot.
Yes. Too much. You just turn the brain off. It's true.
We're just mammals that think too much.
You don't see any lions getting worried about whether they're going to have forceps or a cesarean. They just go, well, I'll lie down here, and in a few hours
just pop out
behind the bush.
Yeah, exactly. Behind the bush where it's calm. Yeah.
Not being interrupted.
Yeah, exactly. They send off the men. The men would be allowed for their tiny lion births.
Okay. So, what are some common misconceptions about hypnobirthing?
Probably the main one is that if you don't have the birth you planned, and if you have any sort of intervention, if you accept epidural, if you have a cesarean, anything at all, then you've somehow failed. And I think that is a pretty awful misconception.
Yeah, it is.
Hypnobirthing is just giving you tools and the right mindset and that questioning, so that you can make sure that how things go feel right for you, and that you feel that sense of control. But no one can predict how birth will go.
No.
And so all that you can do is be as prepared as possible. And just keep that positive mindset.
Yeah. But it's really true. That was the biggest thing for me, that even though the birth went completely the opposite of absolutely everything I put on my birth plan, to every detail, opposite, I didn't feel like I felt very informed. I think we only did 1 or 2 sweeps. In the end, it got a bit more towards the end, and people just had their hands in there whenever they liked.
Towards the end of the birth.
Towards the end.
But
in the start, it was how I was the sweeps and the checks, the number of ones that I wanted, and I just felt so much more informed throughout. So regardless of whether it happened in the way that I wanted it to, I still felt that the hypnobirthing was absolutely essential, and I didn't fail in any way. I think I had a hypnobirthing birth. It was just her head was a little bit too big, and she got it stuck.
I think there's like a misconception that hypnobirthing is just a water birth, and it's not. I, similarly to you, didn't have anything that I wanted, in the sense that I wanted it. Well, I didn't. I was thinking about having it at home, but I wanted it in the birth centre. The birth centre wasn't open. I wanted a natural birth. I ended up having a C-section. So like everything was kind of not how I in my head had planned it. Yeah. But I still felt like I had a hypnobirthing birth because I was able to use all the sort of meditation that we'd gone through, the scripts, the positive affirmations. Like I brought them into the room with me, and I don't think I put them up in the end, but they were there. Had all of the sort of music that I wanted around me, and as much as you can make a hospital room cosy and your own. And I don't think I would have known that I could do that, or even thought about doing that, had I not done a hypnobirthing course. And I think a common misconception is that you do hypnobirthing, you have a water birth, but actually that it can be across all of the different...
Any birth.
You could be planning an elective cesarean and use lots of the techniques.
Because you still might have a lot of fear about that. It's still a surgical procedure, and you might be worried, but having those positive affirmations, and also I think when you're having an elective cesarean, and even a cesarean, some women think, well, I haven't given birth properly. You
I was just
absolutely
going to say
have.
that, I think a lot of people said to me afterwards, oh, do you feel stripped of birthing a baby because it didn't come out of you, it came out of your tummy? And I thought, well, actually, no. I don't think so at all. I feel, I've given birth. The fact that it's not come out of my vagina is neither here nor there.
You still went through it all, and you still gave birth.
And you made that baby.
Exactly.
Just because at the end it doesn't come out how you think it's going to. So I think a lot of people feel like that if they've had a cesarean, and I think, well, from my perspective, it feels like everyone thinks cesarean's the easy option, and if you have a cesarean, you've not given birth. It's bizarre, isn't it? I don't know why.
It's definitely not an easy option.
It's definitely not. And you've had both, haven't you?
I've had both.
You've had both. Definitely not the easy option. And I was very soon after the birth of Lily was debating just going for elective cesarean because of how bad it was. And
have you changed your mind now?
I don't know.
On the fence.
I'm on the fence. I hope that in a year.
Exactly.
In a year, I think I'll be back to home birth. Right now, I'm still a bit reeling from it. So,
a little bit of time.
In a little bit of time, I think I will hopefully get my brain back to a position, and I'll do more of the birth affirmations things to get myself back to a position. Yes, home birth, 100%.
I was the same. I was like, if I'm having another baby and it's £10.8, do I really want to give birth to that at home? But maybe they won't be late. I mean, 15 days late, that's £2. It would have been £8. So I was the same as you. I was like, if I'm having another baby, I'm going to have cesarean. But now I'm just like, I don't know if I would. I would absolutely love to do the whole home birth thing. I just think it's so magic to have your baby and then just be at home.
Be at home. That was the plan.
The worst bit for me was being in the hospital afterwards. It was awful.
I think I ran after Joanna left. It was 9:00, and then I said, well, I'm discharging myself. Their face wasn't very pleased, but you need to sign yourself up. I was off.
That's fine.
But back to that bigger babies idea. It's quite unusual that you would have a baby that physically you can't birth if you don't have diabetes. So if you have diabetes and it's not being controlled, then babies do grow bigger than
the body
in theory they should.
But
otherwise it is unusual to not be able to physically birth them, but often you can look back and see that there was an intervention on the way that led to another one, which led to another one, and then you end up in a position where cesarean is the safest way to have your baby.
I remember when you first said that in the course about your body, and I think that's one of the positive birth affirmations. Your body is designed to give birth to your baby.
Yeah.
And like you say, it's very unusual that your body can't birth your baby.
Yeah.
And actually that gave me a lot of comfort and a lot of
Definitely.
confidence in my body that whatever was going to happen was going to happen, and it would just be fine, and my body would just deal with it.
And that's actually one of the things that I think really lacks from the NCT style classes, that there's hardly any focus on a mother's natural ability to give birth. You are designed to give birth. It's much more, I felt at least in our one, medicalised, and worst case scenario cesarean, but it's actually 45% of people that have one, and just scaremongering you with all of these statistics. You're probably going to have one, so this is what you'll do afterwards. And you then get quite blinkered in this view of that's how awful your birth is going to be, rather than women are designed to give birth. This is what your pelvis does. These are the incredible ways in which your bones move and your body sort of undulates to get the baby out, and you understand the biomechanics of it all, and you feel so much more empowered with that knowledge to go, oh my God, that's an incredible process. I can feel it happening. And it just sets you up for success.
I definitely, that's what I found really useful, the fact that you learn about your body and what it's doing. I had a similar experience that we did at NCT as well, and I learned about what a baby does when it comes out, as in it moves down the womb and all of this stuff, but they didn't talk about how incredible a woman's body is. The fact that your hips will move out, your pelvis will expand so that your baby can move down. You don't learn any of that.
And the baby starts the oxytocin, is that right? The baby...
no, the baby triggers off the start of labour.
Yeah, the baby triggers it. That's amazing. So the baby goes, I'm ready now.
Yeah, basically when the lungs are matured.
It's
a little protein
you
released.
just don't
That's
learn
triggers
any of
labour.
that.
No,
and actually that's a really interesting point as well, in the sense that the baby decides when the baby is ready. The due date is an estimate, and a lot of people get pushed into being induced. And something that really struck a chord for us was it's an estimate due date, it's not the actual due date, and your baby will come when they're ready. So if you try and induce them before they're ready, that could actually impact your baby, because they're not ready to be in this world yet. So that was something we took away. And I mean, he was 15 days late. So.
It's a difficult one, because some babies will naturally come earlier. It seems to be like certain families, their pregnancies are naturally shorter, others will be naturally longer. The way things are at the moment, and a lot of women are offered induction, and some inductions are really, life-saving.
Really needed. Yeah.
Exactly, for the health of mum and baby. Yeah. A lot of inductions are based on the perceived risk of someone that has a particular characteristic. So it could be like, mum's age or...
blood pressure, would that be?
Yeah, blood pressure, that might be a good reason to have an induction. If your blood pressure is raging, then it's it's better that the baby is born, for your safety and the baby's. But there are other reasons where the research maybe isn't amazing in supporting induction. And
I know definitely for me, I was just booked in. Like it was just like a standard procedure. So I don't, and that's where it was quite interesting in the sense that it wasn't really a question. It was, we'll book you in for an induction on day 12, and it's all kind of planned out for you. And in the end, I sort of called up and said, I don't want to be induced, but I will come in and have a sweet, because I quite like to see how dilated I am. Turns out I wasn't.
Not. Nothing.
But it's useful to know. But I think for me, it felt like I was just booked in, and there wasn't necessarily a reason why, apart from you're overdue. But then I guess sometimes being overdue, that can be a reason to be induced.
So statistically the stillbirth rate does increase with the weeks. When you're passing 40 weeks, there is a steady steady
increase.
rise, but the numbers, the actual numbers, are still small.
Okay.
So you need to have access to all of that information to be able to know, is that, you know, the risk that you're wanting to take.
Yeah. And they often miss out that second bit of the data, don't they? Just tell you the percentages and think,
or just like the increased risk.
Yes.
So your
And
baby's twice as likely to be
Yeah, I was going to
stillborn.
say,
But from what to what?
Yeah.
But you shouldn't just have it booked in. Like, there should be a discussion.
No, exactly.
And you're given options, because you don't need to have an induction at that point. You could also accept the offer of a, you know, visit to hospital to have your baby monitored, potentially an extra scan to make sure there's still enough water around the baby, which is a sign of health. So you should be given those options.
Yeah, and hypnobirthing will help you be informed to know that you have those options. I think is a really big part of it.
And to say no to things as well.
Yeah, say no if you're not happy. If you don't want to be induced, you don't have to be.
Exactly. As long as you're making an informed decision, you have that information.
Yeah.
Then it's your body. You can do what you like.
Yeah.
I think a lot of women forget that. They forget that it's their body.
That's what I said to somebody when I said about I left on the night that I gave birth, and technically I shouldn't have because I had a lot of blood loss, but it's not a jail. They can't keep you there. I knew the risks. I knew that I wanted to go home. I signed a little form and I left. I wouldn't have done it if I was, you know, I'd lost 3 litres of blood, but you know the risks and you can make an informed decision, and you have the power to say no. You can say no, okay, well I accept the risk and I want to do this. I think that's really often missed for a lot of women. You forget that you can't say no to doctors and midwives. You can.
Yeah. And it can feel quite scary as well. And that's why I think having a partner with you who is there to advocate for you, whoever it be, it's really helpful.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
because you're definitely not in a sound mind at that point.
My sound mind left at about 4 a.m. No sound mind.
I'm quite sure it ever returned.
Still a bit gappy.
But
one thing that we should definitely do is ask you to tell us about your company and how people can get in touch with you if they want to book on a course with you.
Yeah, so the company's called Over the Moon Birthing.
Lovely.
And based in Maidenhead, in the Maidenhead area. Well, I'm not actually living in Maidenhead right now, but generally the area of where we do the group classes is in Maidenhead, but I cover a bit further afield, so if people want private classes, I'll come out to your house.
Brilliant.
And do you do online as well?
Yeah, I could do online too. It all went online over COVID.
Oh yeah.
And the online versions are a bit less popular now, but mainly because it's, you know, local people, you know, local to Berkshire, Buckinghamshire.
And people like that interaction with a group space.
It's nice to have mum friends.
It is, exactly. We've stayed friends with 4 of us, so
it's really nice.
It's one of the perks of doing group courses, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's when you're on maternity leave, you know, that people to hang out with.
Yeah, exactly. Mum friends. Mums at lunch.
And so how long does the course run for? So you book a block and then...
Yeah, so the full group course is 12 hours long, so normally do it over 4 face-to-face sessions and 1 online, and the online one is when we do all the relaxation techniques, because I found
which was really fun.
Actually practicing them.
It was really fun.
But I found if you do those face-to-face in one room, it just leads to lots of people laughing. And I must say, me and my husband, we did the more traditional antenatal course when we were first pregnant with the girls, and we were that couple. We had to leave the room. We were disturbing everyone too much. So that's why we do that one online. Private courses a little bit shorter because you tend to get through things a little bit quicker. So that's over 10 hours, or you can do a shorter, more condensed one.
So if someone wants to book onto your course, where do they go? What do they do?
Yeah, just go online, Google Over the Moon Birthing. Yeah, and there's a contact form on the website, and then I'll get back to you.
Amazing. Awesome. We will post Joanna's website links in the bottom of the podcast, so anybody who wants to get in touch with Joanna, please head there and make sure that you do. And honestly, we would thoroughly recommend it.
Yeah, I could not recommend it anymore. It was amazing.
It is amazing.
Really amazing.
We did not have the stereotereotypical
neither of us had,
but I wouldn't have done without the hypnobirthing. So if you're considering it, book.
Do it, and don't leave it too late. I think we probably did it around 5 months. 6 months.
Yeah, I felt fairly big, but it was hot, wasn't it?
It was really hot, so it's summer.
July, August.
Yeah,
around that time.
I think it was July, August. Yeah, it just gives you a bit of time to actually put the techniques that you've learned into
practice.
action and not be kind of stressing about it before you have the baby.
Yeah, normally
That's
I do
not
about
what you
28 weeks, something like
28
that.
weeks.
Yeah.
Because if you do it too early, I found that things were a bit less fresh in
Yeah,
people's
that's true.
memories.
Yeah.
That's true.
But too late, you don't have time to
Yeah.
practice, and you spend, you know, most of your pregnancy worrying.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's really true.
It's good to at least, by 28 weeks or so,
Yeah.
Got some
start
time.
kicking on.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow, thank
Great.
you very much for joining
Thank you
us
so
today.
much for
We're so
having me.
pleased.
You're so
Thank you very
welcome.
much everyone for joining us on
Yeah,
today's
thank you so
episode. Please make sure you like, follow, subscribe.
Yeah, we are on Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube. Comment below. We'd love to hear from you. Did you find it useful? Are you now going to go and sign on to a hypnobirthing course? We really hope so. And yeah, we will speak to you next time.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.